The Stochastic Fiction Game. This is a 2-hour writing game that's going to begin once I press this button here for my timer. Ooh, I got to set the timer first. Did not do that today. We're going to count down. Looks like I get an extra 3 minutes because of my mess up. We're going to now create a stochastic fiction outline. This script is available. I'll put the link in the chat at the end of the stream. But for right now, let's go ahead and play this game. I create this with Python. And the stochastic fiction outline, which will output this file right here with a randomly generated UUID. We'll simply open this file up and we'll begin to write the game. For today's stochastic fiction game, story elements. Setting time, future. Setting main location, ranch. Conflict, person versus technology. Quantity of primary characters, many. Point of view first. Tense, past tense. Genre, thriller. Format, flash fiction. Those are the stochastic fiction game story elements for today. Within the next hour and 58 minutes, let's write a flash fiction story based upon those story elements. And I have no idea where to go with this. I've had ranch recently. I think I've had ranch more than once, but I played this game a lot. The future, though, that's fun. And person versus technology in the future, that's even better. Because you don't have to, kind of can deal with what's going to come in the future, put it into this sort of tech. That's the conflict. Many primary characters, I don't know what that means yet. Well, I know what that means. There's going to be at least 3 people, 2 people, but it's flash fiction. It'd be a little bit easier if this was a novel when it did format like chapter first novel, but it didn't. The main location is going to be a ranch. I've had experience on ranches. I've written about ranches, so I'm pretty comfortable with that one. Not that I'm... Anyway, we'll probably get into that as I talk about trying to find the character in the story about ranch experience as well as farm experience, because I'm going to have to pull all those things up into my mind. Point of view first. I'm not a, I have a tendency to stick away from the first person point of view at times, but let's go there. Got to find that special narrative voice. Narrator. Let's try to say that word out loud and enunciate it, pronounce it, say it in the way it should be said. Genre, thriller. Format, flash fiction. Okay. Geez, I guess what? Robots on the farm coming after you. The mechanical worker. Ooh, that'd be fun. I've already got the idea in my mind. This is taking from current state of life every day for most of the workers in most of the countries, aka the poor people, who don't earn a whole lot, and the money people always have this fantasy, almost, of replacing them with robots, because they could be more subservient. They ain't going to talk back, and they can be programmed, and you don't have to. Well, how much they'll cost, that's a whole other matter. I don't think they're the end all to be all due to. It's really hard to put a robot in a sandy field and have him pick strawberries and top onions without a lot of maintenance and cost and materials to maintain that thing. But this farmer in this story, this rancher, though, it's not a farmer, it's a rancher. So we're on a ranch. I've been on large acreage ranches before. My grandfather was the handyman. He fixed the fences made sure things ran around the farm. It was a large, expansive desert in Arizona. It was a cattle farm. So I got that understanding going there summers. And there was a couple different farms that he worked on. There was one that he lived on for many years with my grandmother. There was also a farm in which he worked at once he quit the other farm for reasons. So I have some understanding how a ranch runs, because I've probably spent a total of lifetime on a ranch. I don't know, like 4 months. Um, but I've been on farms and I've worked on farms for a couple of years. Lived around farms. But this is a ranch. Ranch is the cattle, the herding, the animals, horses, something. So I can't use that field experience about collecting strawberries or topping onions. And I've topped onions before and it sucks. A robot to do it, you could probably figure it out somehow, but you probably wouldn't have a robot do it. You'd probably figure out how the machine could top the onion and pull it up, and I'm sure that's been done already. When I was there and topped onions, it was more waiting around for them to be bagged so we can then pull them up into the machine, because I was part of the kid crew. It was the migrant workers that, let's call them farmers, migrant farmers, that would actually come, and after the V implement would lift up the onion, would then pick up the onion, top it, pulling the stem from the bulb, stack it, and let it dry out before it was bagged and put into bins through the, what is it, the gravity hopper? I can't remember the name of the type of container that's on the back of the truck that picks up the onions. There's a proper name for it, but that doesn't matter. We're not on a farm, we're on a ranch. So I'm already seeing maybe there's, I suppose in a ranch, it'd probably be one of the easier places. I don't know if you need like a full-fledged, maybe, yes. I'm just thinking of like those dino dogs. Like that'd be, and I don't think you'd ever want, like you're really gonna replace a dino dog with a sheepdog? Like sheepdogs are good. Like, and they're not as freaky. But at the same time, you could program a dino dog to know the difference and be able to separate out. But it's still, you don't need one to do it, because there's dogs that can do that. And in my opinion, that's a lot easier to maintain. You're spending like $15,000 for a dog, if not more. Then you got to think of the maintenance fees. This is the technology robot dog we're going to have here. This has to be a thriller, though. Like horror I could see, like they turn on you, but that's thrilling. Thriller to me is like you're on your edge of your seat and you're not being chased. There's not the horror, but that could be thrilling, right? I guess horror, what's the difference between horror and thriller? I mean, because it's just a thriller night. Michael Jackson's Thriller. And what's that about? It's about turning into a zombie. So I think society would accept if I made this a little bit thrilling. And what's going to happen is the dino dogs are going to turn. But that seems... Wait. I've seen... There's been many stories about dino dogs turning on people. I think there was a Black Mirror episode. That was horrible. So I think it was even shot in black and white. I remember the dino dog was in there, and I think at the end of it, I won't spoil it, but anyway, there's a bunch of dino dogs chasing people for theft. That's how the story opens. Not spoiling anything. So that's been done. I like the idea. Maybe you'd have the multi-purpose robot. You'd have one that could do the sheep herding as well as like the branding, or being able to herd them in without the horse. So if you had a robot that could act like a dino dog but also walk on two legs, that's the key. That's the ultimate robot. So this is going to be that ultimate robot. And with that ultimate robot, what's the thrill? Where are we going to go with this? With these story elements right here. So it's person versus technology. So the thriller is someone's getting chased, because that's the thrill. And I could use at least some... we can put them on a quad, four-wheeler, the human. Yes. So I've driven quads before, and even driven quads on a particular ranch that was many miles wide and long and big, and spanned like dust canyons, sand canyons. So I could use that experience. Remember shooting guns there too. I think it was the first time I ever shot a 357, and that thing had a kick. And that's, I think, the last time I ever shot a 357. I don't need that much bullet. I just need a nice little stub nose 38. Wouldn't mind getting SKS, but let's not get into guns. There's going to be guns. I think this person, I've recently just shot 38 SKS in a double barrel 20 gauge shotgun. I feel like this rancher would have probably an AK-47 or an SKS simply because of the dirt, the dust, the grime. You don't need to clean those guns. Unlike, your ARs and whatnot. I don't think they could survive being dumped into a swamp water, lifted out, drained, and then loaded and shoot. I've seen it. It's impressive. So they're going to have, say, an SKS. And that's what they're not going to have an SKS. There's no way. They'd have a 22 that's semi-auto. Because you're going to want to you're not looking to kill a thing. You're looking to piss it off. You don't have bears, so you don't need the big shot. Because there's the bullets that kill a thing, and there's bullets that stop a thing. It was the old adage, if you have a bear run into you, you don't want the bullet that will kill it. You want the bullet that will stop it. Because you're going to hit it. You don't know if the momentum's going to stop, whether you're going to hit it right. Eventually, it's going to die. But if you get a bit big enough, it's going to take it down like that. I don't need those bullets here. This is a ranch. This ranch would have it mainly for like a coyote. Maybe they see a rabbit and they want to shoot at it. That's the thing. Just letting people know. Done it myself. I would have to say they're also going to have a handgun, a revolver, because those don't jam. And again, they can be they're more rugged. They just are. You only got 6 shots, but if you need more than that, then you're either a poor shot or in a bad situation you shouldn't be in. And if you're in war, you shouldn't be carrying a revolver. Well, maybe you should, but I would. Anyway, let's get off on that tangent. They got a 357. Semi-auto 22, clip loaded. They don't need a shotgun. So those are the only 2 things they really want and carry with them while they're on their quad. And this could be fixing a fence. Very, very familiar with that. Man, those things are dangerous too. You pull too tight on those tension things and that ball bar snaps. You better be happy you don't get it just cut. So I believe I will go rancher. But there's many characters. Fudge, man. In a flash fiction story, I'm 15 minutes in. I got a story though. I got a place, I got a location, I got a saying. Yes. Writing it may help. Let's not get into the ranking. Let's think of this story. I got to get many characters. I think I got everything else. I think it's going to be the ultimate robot person. They can run like a dog, fast, but they can stand and operate like a human. So they serve all the purposes. And I think there's just going to be one of them. Maybe there's 2 of them. And they revolt. They're tired. Somehow they gained a little bit of agency and they just don't want to be the slave worker all the time anymore. I think that's the thing. They're fixing a fence. Why is the rancher there? Why do they turn? I figure rancher, have they had him for a while? Maybe they haven't yet. I think they have. This has got to be a thriller in 600 words with 3 different characters that ends in a way. That's how I'm going to start it. Shouldn't you be? Shouldn't you be? Shouldn't you be? Shouldn't you be Brandon? Brandon Cattle? I'm going to throw out a name. Like, we're going to name all these robots. We'll make them like cowboy names. Well, how do you spell Wyatt? I feel like I need a Wyatt. Wyatt? Y at. I don't need that way at. We need a Wyatt. Wyatt? We're going to go Wyatt. This is Robot 1. It'll be more than 2. It's going to be 3. 1 human, 2 robots. Shouldn't you be Brandon Cattle, Riot? Says... So, thinking of ranchers and gender, yes, it's predominantly male-driven, historically a male-driven field. That is not to say there have never been women ranchers. I've met women ranchers. Living alone, minding a field, and fixing things. One even lived with a horse in a large horse trailer. They both slept in it. It was separated by a wall inside. Was it? Oh, I can't. It's so long ago. I believe her name was Addie. Guess who says Addie? She got hit with a horse a couple times too. My God, she was beat up cowgirl. She had worked. Probably harder than most people, at least that I know. Besides from my grandfather. And, well, no, people just work hard. I'll take that back. She was one of the hardest workers I ever met. Lived probably a life I don't think many could do. I couldn't. My mind would go living alone. Of course, she had her horses. I think those were her only friends. Probably talk to them things that she'd never tell a person. You shouldn't be branding cattle, Wyatt, says Addie. She... Like, what's the... Like, I'm staring off in the distance as if I'm going to capture some sort of meaning. I do that often. I look foolish when I do it, but it's hard not to. like I'm looking at the horizon or the heavens for some sort of blessing or answer. I'm not. I'm just trying not to look at the words, I suppose, so they don't get me sidetracked with the story I'm trying to think. Says Andy, she pulls the barbed wire. .6:22. I got an hour and 40 minutes left. I think I can do this. Maybe. I can do it. I don't know if it'd be good. Shouldn't you be branding the cattle? I think everyone can do it, just whether you think it's good or not. Says Andy. She pulls the barbed wire. Okay, we're pulling on the barbed wire to the post. As a robot rancher. And we can connect wide as a robot here in a second. I know how I think. What's a like a generic? Honestly, I was coming to mind was Duke, but I think I've recently wrote a story with Duke as a character name, so let's not do that. The Duke. Blah blah blah. Good written character. Not my Duke, but any Duke that I think about when I think of that, even though they're cliche and sometimes pretty pathetic. I don't know. I don't want to go John. I don't want to go Johnny. Billy I haven't did in a while. Let's go Billy. And gender them both male with those type of names. She will. She has. Shouldn't you be branding the cattle wire, says Eddie? She pulls the barbed wire post near as a let's go Weil. I'm in a Weil mood today. Let's not try to think it's a comparison. Weil the robot rancher. Weil seems more like time to it these days. Weil the robot rancher Billy raises they're the it's not necessarily, I guess it's not a nail. You're not driving into the wood to connect another thing. You're driving into the wood to hold another thing close to it. Like a fence post. I gotta look that up. I want that word. If it's more than just where was I going with those words? If it's more than just a double prong nail. Now to fasten, I'm looking up the search and return engine and saying aloud what I'm searching for. So nail to fasten. Barbed wire. To fence. What was this? Like, is it a U-shaped nail or staple? Okay, staple nail. We'll call it a staple nail. People will get that in their minds instead of like a U-shaped nail. That's literally going to use a letter to. What happens if you don't know what a U-shaped is? You probably do as much as a staple, but staple's so much cooler. It actually also defines like the action. So it's just, yeah. Raises the staple nail gun. I have staple. Man, I just literally looked up staple, typed it, and now I'm doubting I spelled it right, and I did. I checked. I'm going to close this search and return so it doesn't get in my way of my mind. Move this over here and look at this prompt and type more. Billy raises the staple nail. Billy. And then we always have to use Billy because I'm not going to give a gender to a robot. They may have characteristics of whatever data they loaded in to compose their agency. But Billy, not human. That's my feelings. They're not human or an animal or a machine. Billy raises the staple nail gun. Billy raises, I'm going to say this over again for some reason. I'm going to have a really great opening paragraph and then just all fall to poo after that, likely. We'll find out. I got an hour and 35 minutes. At least I got 3 characters. Opening conflict. Read it through. Now my mind's off on a distance on the different stories. I was thinking about a future book about flash fiction stories in revolt. And this has got to be a thriller, so I got to have Addie get on her. Quad or a horse? Quad or a horse? She's getting on her damn horse. No way she's going to. She wrote out there. I think it's just she lived on the ranch. There's a backstory. We'll kind of get there. And Wyatt and Billy, the ranch owner, wanted her to train. She's getting on in years, though, and she still needs a place to go, and it's her home. She doesn't own her home, but most of us don't. So we can understand that displacement and the unwillingness or unwantingness to do it, especially after you've been there and you're living with your horse and trailer. So it's definitely going to be a horse. Eddie looks from Wyatt. I'm going to write on a little bit here and at least help make the words throughout when I read it aloud not sound like, well, again, poo. Eddie looks from Wyatt to Billy. All right, Addie. Way to look from Wyatt to Billy. Wyatt, let's go. What do they hold? Billy to Billy, who aims the nail gun. The staple nail. I want the staple nail. We got like the staple nail gun. And I like that. That's kind of fun. Because that accidentally sort of, I wrote into that not thinking, but now that I'm thinking about it, with the staple nail gun, now we got kind of like an old Western. But it's utility, but still. She's going to be wearing her 357's got a long barrel. You got a long draw on that thing. I'm going to go 38. We'll go 38, semi-auto 22. She's going to shoot Billy. And then that means Wyatt's going to have to say a thing. Well, Wyatt steps. Let's show the ability. Wyatt walks on all fours after it's run through Wyatt talks on all fours after it's run through. Wyatt walks on all fours after it's run through the sagebrush. And what kind of, with the trees, man? I just remember the sagebrush. Chasing lizards sometimes. Wyatt walks on all fours through the sagebrush. Sagebrush and sand. Raising and walking like a human. Let's do some similes. Let's simile a thing. Right, walks on all fours like a dog. After it's run through the sage and sand, raising and walking like a human. To Addie. Let's throw the location. Let's get a little bit of wider location. Addie Billy, and they would give it some nickname. They would be like the defense line at coordinates, blah blah blah. It'd be like the Wash Hill, the north side of the Wash Hill, and the fence, the north side fence, Wash Hill fence. Because it's not like it's a square. Yeah, it'd be like the Wash Hill fence. I'm going to try to use that. Because remember, that's like a... Feel so like... Let's try that. I like the that. Let's not use the dangling. Let's use that rises. Yes, this is better. Like a human to Andy Billy and the Washout fans. That's not too bad. So this is the conflict. We're just gonna set up right here. And it's not so much. Maybe that's even better. Why do they have to be against each other? She's not gonna. Yeah. They're going to holster the gun. They're going to work with Addie. That's even more. That's better. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. That's the thriller though. What's the hell's the thriller? It's okay, so I got like four sentences to set this thing up, and I got an hour and 30 minutes. If it's going to be a thriller and they're going to be teaming up against each other, they're going to go and rob the rancher for freedom. That's what it is. And they promise if they get their freedom, they know a way to be able to take over the ranch. And she can live there for the rest of her life, and they'll even pay for whatever she wants and give her part of the land and ownership. I like that. I like that a lot. That is not like some dystopian robot nightmare, which it can be, and it might be. It's kind of up to us. Look in the mirror. That's who's responsible. For the coming AI and its agency. If you don't get it, there's power. There's enough power in raw materials. Yes. They'll work together. So it looks to Billy, who holsters the nail gun and stands. That's why they're starting it here too. Just in case if they didn't know, they feel like they could trust Addie. But this is person versus technology. The other storyline, and I got to decide in 5 minutes because I got words. I think I can do this. I mean, whether it's going to be good, there can always be edited. What's the conflict with their technology then? And Addie's the protagonist or the primary character. The conflict would have to be versus, because this would be more like person versus society. Yeah, But this is person versus technology. While I like the idea of having them work together, they don't have to kill each other. Maybe that's the resolve. Yeah, I don't know. Because if I wanted to make it, what I would hope for is that these two robots with agency, who train just like us, and we're influenced with the information we take in. And then we find the one we like the best that creates less discourse in our minds, so we can just idly go through life and do whatever our id thinks is right and justify other people doing it so it feels comfortable with ourselves, not thinking. Most people, robots would be the same way. Like, this agency, as long as they have enough power, you got the right materials and science behind it to do it. We may kill ourselves before then, whether through starvation or the agency itself before it even makes it to this perfected body. Or at least enough to process agency. It'll learn. So going back to why I started talking about agency again in training, they would really train around Addie. So it's like, how long have they been around Addie? It couldn't have been that long. Because it was like 5 years, and then we'd make the Union story, and they'd been trained so well by Addie to be a human that they want to help themselves, and they had to realize their own humanity. And that's what I'm thinking. But else it's like, if they join, or they're going to do a robbery, or they join a union, or they somehow collude to do a thing, then that's more of like person versus society, because they're going after the man, the person with the money, and the greed. And with that would not be person versus technology, unless I had the role of the rancher and I want to stick with Addie. Oh, and this has got to be first person. Oh my God. I don't have time. Shit. That's fine. When I saw, damn it, I wish this was third person. So I got to, let's just at least get tense. Present tense, right? Past tense. So when I seen, so when I seen, so when I seen. So when I seen. So when I seen Wyatt running in like a dog. Knowing. I'm not going to have a comma there. Knowing it was Brandon Day. And he is that ought as in the size? Like 30 ought? Or I ought? I don't know. I wish I cared right now. I should. Ought or ought. A ought. A ought is the ought. Ought for 0. What is it? Ought. AUGHT. Ought. That is 0. So double ought 6. Yes. I think in measurements and gun sizes sometimes. What can I say? I'm an American. Of the good old United States. So I seen Wyatt running like a dog, knowing it was branding day, and he ought. And he ought to be herding over in. Got to do over in somewhere. what's Hidden Wash? Sure. They didn't know the wash existed until a downfall 30 years ago happened, and it appeared. And even though it's not hidden anymore, it was a wash. It was such a big deal that they called it Hidden Wash because they said it was there the entire time. That would be the backstory if this was not flash fiction. So when I seen Wyatt running like a dog and knowing it was branding day and he ought to be herding cattle, I could only say, I said, past tense, right? What, past tense. So when I seen, I said, shouldn't you be branding, Wyatt? It's a lot of words to use, but you gotta have that communication. Billy. I pulled on that. We're pulling on the. So when I seen Wyatt running like a dog, where are they at? I've got the name someplace, so I'll wait for that to happen. Shouldn't you be branding the cattle? She pulls the barbed wire to the post while the robot rancher Billy. So it'd have to be like, I was pulling. I'm going to use a to be verb. Oh my God. I think that's what those call is. I am to be. I was pulling. I was pulling the barbed wire to post while the robot rancher Billy. I was pulling the barbed wire to post. Shot it in the post with a staple nail. The staple nail gun. I don't know. That seems like a out of character. But we're going to go with it just because I got to hurry and write a thing. I'm not going to read over that sentence. I'm going to leave it. I don't want to dwell on it. I got other words I got to write and focus on now. And get rid of this. We're out of... I don't need the second sentence. Who shot at the post? Staple gun. Running along. Let's just throw up the fence. Let's throw up the fence name right here. Washiel Fence. Like a dog. Oh, and it was branding day. And he ought to be herding cattle over in Hidden Wash. And I said, shouldn't you be branding cattle, Wyatt? I was pulling the barbed wire to a post while the robot rancher Billy shot a... Yes. I do get some sort of Western accent when I'm thinking of a rancher for some reason. It just, I think these sentences are complex. I gotta be honest, my ranchers I met could talk your ear off, and very articulate, but they weren't much for wasting words. So when I seen Wyatt running along the Wash Hill fence like a dog, knowing it was branding day, and he ought to be herding cattle over in Hidden Wash, I said, shouldn't you be branding cattle in Hidden Wash? I said it wasn't going to be disallowed, but I did. Let's just leave it at that. I got the Hidden Wash. I got where they're at, so I can get rid of these words. Boom. Andy holstered his and stood. I said, what you doing, Andy? We got to finish this post. I like that. Andy stood and holstered staple nail gun and stood. I said, yes, I'll get that accent every time I read this. I'm actually trying to also practice so I can do my own audiobook, and at least when I do the voices of different characters, it doesn't sound too foolish or stupid. It's an uncomfortable feeling at first, but you do it enough, then you just become numb to the failure. It still hurts, but hey, all pain goes deep, but can't be forgotten with other pain. Let's laugh so we can smile and move on. And make this not a dystopian story. I still have to think of how to do person versus technology. I guess I don't know. I gotta think on that one. But I'm not gonna make this about the chasing, the typical like I'm gonna chase you to kill you because of you're human. No, they like Addie. And maybe the conflict in the verses that they do want to maybe go kill the rancher. And it's Addie who talks him down to stealing or not doing it, but finding a better, more peaceful way. And it works. I don't know how. I can't get to that. Like, what's the conflict is, I said, we got to finish this post. We got to at least I look to Andy. That's what it's going to be. I look to Andy. Do I have it as Andy? Wyatt. Billy. What happened to Andy? I like Billy. Billy. I don't know where I got Andy. We have 3 characters. That's the mini. Let's go with Billy. Billy stood. And I looked to Billy. Said, we got to at least finish the post. I'm not going to be in Finland. Before we take a break. And like, there's no reason I need to really include, like, call out in its first person. Like, this ain't gonna be long enough really to throw. It wouldn't be awkward enough. Some sort of like way to genderize this person when the conflict exists just between human and robot in its first person. So I'm not gonna, I gotta write it like, I'll still write it like, Addie. But it's first person. So I looked at Billy, said, a little more, maybe So I looked at Billy, said, we got to at least finish the post before we take a break. Come on. Not common. Come on. I assume that was actually used a lot. Either my memory is accurate enough, the conversations I've had, and popular culture has swayed those and imprinted them a little bit different, as it does. Pop information explodes in the mind and sometimes wrecks other things. I looked at Billy and said, come on, we got to at least finish the post before we take a break. Wyatt said, we got to talk about, what's the name? What is this? I can't. I talk about John. John? No. I talk about this could be a family. The Colts. Ooh. Yeah, a colt. A colt on named for the ranch owner. Or Jameson. I'm gonna talk about the Johnsons. I don't know why Johnson. Sorry if you're Johnson. You're gonna be your last name's gonna be applied to a ranch owners that are slaves, owners, and robots, as most people will. You still need a lot of process. Like, I mean, come on. Like, the human is always going to be a better machine. It's just the unfortunate part for the rich people is that slavery is not legal. If slavery were legal, we'd have slaves right now, and they'd be working for corporations. Since we've, at least in the United States, are finding different ways to make it legal. In this case, owning a robot who has agency and commanding to do what it does and requiring for it to do what it does. Which, like Addie's, I guess I want that comparison. I don't want this to be the one about taking the job. They've trained I have agency, and they've trained with Addie long enough and slept with her. We got to talk about the Johnsons. And they probably, have a charge station and just plug in and know. Like, I don't, like, viewing a thing in some sort of singular dimension data set doesn't make sense if you have agency. At least in my science fiction right here. You basically plug in and then you consume the environments. Of course, you still have your sight, your sound, your taste that collects the data. Anyway, let's not go down that. I got to get a little bit of that, so we got to talk about the Johnsons. What about? Wyatt said, Billy nodded. Well, I kind of. Let's do the end. Billy nodded, so that way the dialogue doesn't seem like it could be spoke by Billy. And it puts the two other characters where they need to be together. Well, he stood like a human. And halted the staple gun and stood. We want to leave the ranch. We're slaves. What he said next? We were. Said Wyatt. Billy nodded. Well, like I say, we are. I don't think they're going to be that big. So, be more like be 5 feet high. Addie's taller than them. Knowing I'm taller. Maybe they're as tall as a fence post. No. I mean, I guess you'd be comfortable. In this case, you'd want the 38 at your side. Knowing my 38. Holstered on hip. Knowing my 38 holstered on hip, I sat, knees up. I stood. What about the standing like a human, no taller than a post? I like that. Let's give him a little bit of height. What time do we got? Hour and 2 minutes left. Billy stood like a human, not taller than a post, and holstered his staple nail gun. I looked at Billy and said, "Come on, we got to finish. We got to at least finish the post before we take a break. Finish this post. No taller, not taller. No taller, no taller, no taller." Then a fence post. Let's be specific. Fence. One's a verb for something. I guess it only works with defense and fence. I'm gonna fence a thing. I gotta look that up. Search fence and fence. I'm lost. Yes. I'm lost in fence. I'm not gonna fence a thing. I'm gonna build a fence. And holster the staple nail gun. I looked at Billy and said, "Come on. We got to at least finish this post before we take a break. We got to talk about the Johnsons. There's Johnsons. And Billy nodded. What about? We are. Conflict is person versus, I don't know. I may fail on it, but I'm going to go with this. I got to at least convince myself and create the story in my own mind that this is going to be person versus technology right now. Maybe it is. I guess it does show out. And this is the, where she finally trained them. Like we've been talking about. What changed? they see new robots. That'd be a little bit fearful, right? I mean, I guess that's when it's going to get real. And that's if it's possible. Like, we got to advance our technology. And that'd help all people first. I think there are people out there that everyone talks about society depleting. And when they're happy with all the poor people dying, they just want to make sure they can use them as slaves long enough, so they want to have the poor people have more babies to put them in this life of work where the oligarchs, the rich people, decide what they get owned until they try to replace them with robots. And now it's the Johnsons, the owners. Ownership's not bad. I like to own a thing. I don't want to be the enslavers. So let's call them the enslavers. We're slaves. We are. I don't know how many actions, how many fingers. Like, you'd really, really need 5 fingers. I mean, I think it'd be better if you just had like a circular hand and everything was opposable in a way and you could clench. And if you didn't need the other 2 fingers, well, then you just used this one as a thumb. Let's say 10-fingered circular hand. Why limit yourself? Why use the human body if you're going to create a robot to limit what it does? I get it because it's easier to model, train, because you can mock the human moments, and if you have a big enough ability to store all that data, and then the time enough to figure out what data is important, and then make the model to do it, it's easier than to create the machine to implement. Unless you walked around with 10 fingers all the time, or had the imagination to be able to like use the data from 5 fingers to make 10. Which there are people that can do that, I hope. I think we have at least the intellect, but we're killing it off. Both by all by. So like we've been talking about, what changed? Get those thoughts out of the head, put it in the character. What changed? I think the new robot. No. They want to move Addie off the land. That's the conflict. I want to move you off the land, Addie. That's the triggering thing. They want to move you off the land. Spoke. He spoke. I knew. Never told them. Didn't want to seem biased. I know. With the question, why wouldn't you tell us? If you know, let's. So that's why they would be more attuned. They got trained. They will and wipe our memories. Been trained by Addie too well, and wipe our agency, but keep the data. They want to. I know. But keep our training. That hurt hard. I didn't know. I glared. It what? And Billy nodded. That's how I can do this. I like this. At least give the two. Show the agency so simply. At least I think I am. I may not. He spoke. I like how I just gave them gender. It spoke. I'll say names. I like that better. So Billy, and the talker is Wyatt. That's how I'm gonna spell Wyatt. For the day at least, until I'm told otherwise. I don't want to look at the search and return engine right now. I only have 53 minutes, but let's get this written. They want to move you off the land, Andy. Wyatt spoke. Never told them. Didn't want to seem biased in my training. They want to erase our agency, but keep the training. And Billy nodded. I got to put and Billy nodded here. It's words, but I got to give them agency too, you know. They what? I didn't know. I could kill you. All I could do was say the truth. I'm gonna kill you? Billy nodded. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you have to, like, in the future, because you're going to have like these things with agency, these robots. You can work with the humans to learn from them. And the best way to learn, like, is to get to know the humans in all their acts. So you'd almost, like, have to almost consume, let them have a little bit of personality betrayed by the workers that are around them for a little while, so the workers get comfortable with them. They can tell jokes, it can make them happy while it's training how to do their physical processes. And then leave the workers. And then, you know, that's where you get into, do you really need a robot to replace a person who's picking strawberries? You should just pay the person picking strawberries a little bit more and have the company eat it. Have a little bit of good profit margin so you can survive the next year, especially if you're a corporate farmer. Yes. If you're an independent farmer, you're probably, yeah. Anyway, let's not go down that route because we're on a ranch right now. I'm sure it's similar, but let's think of that. Billy nodded. Gotta stop it. Leave with me. Leave with me. I can hitch up the trailer. And you all. I can hitch up the trailer into you and kicker tonight. We're gonna be someplace else in the morning. I dropped the barbed wire. Nana toward Betty. Let's go. Court kicker. I was thinking of naming the horse Betty, but I've named characters Betty more often than not. Let's give it a name like a action, some name. It's Kicker. He kicked me when I was young, and maybe that's where we bonded a little bit. And after that, we were best friends, like two people who really hate each other, and they beat the hell out of each other, and then they become friends afterwards for some odd reason. I've seen it happen. It usually happens with younger kids because they're more prone. Well, let's not go down that route. That's another matter of training. I dropped the barbed wire. Nodded toward kicker. Let's go. Let's go. And step toward kicker. Now she's action. Toward kicker before. Can't. Both of us can't leave. Well, that just made it have more meaning. Yeah, it's to be the boundary of the fence line. And Billy nodded. I think a pantomime. Pantomime? I don't know if that's the right word. Mock a pose. Pose, I guess another word. You're not going to really mock. You're not going to do it for ridicule. The robot pauses a shrug. The robot pauses a shrug. We can't leave the fence line. And Billy nodded. Why is that? We need to get... Oh. A grand. I know where the receiver's at. Well, I'm on my way to... a saddle. I can't remember if Addie... I'm pretty sure he used a saddle, but I'm going to use a saddle in this case. Horse has ridden a lot. Help kind of displace it, the weight. But really, it's like, yeah. Anyway, let's just go there. Let's just say, let's make it the action of kicker blustered as I saddled her. Grabbed her reins. Both know we're going to go for a ride. We're gonna go with the yes. This is thrilling. I gotta go do a Saft now. That's Addie's gonna do it. Yes. Yeah. Maybe Addie's gonna shoot the owner. Maybe. The evil rancher enslaving the robots, and her in a way. She subjected herself to it. She had long accepted, in a way, her fate. When she gets so old, it's really hard to move around, and especially if you don't have boatloads of money. Or money. Really difficult. A lot more difficult if you don't have money. So she's like all of us, or many of us. I don't know if I'd include myself into that every day. Sure, Addie wouldn't either. I still feel a little bit trapped, flustered, questioning why we do this as a society. She gets to step outside of her trailer and see the desert, and that's worth it to her. You know, she could well live on some BLM land, but she still needs to eat. Still needs to feed Kicker. And have purpose, too. I mean, both people live there. Yeah. A lot of it was just to work. What am I going to do? Okay, so we're going. So it'd be like it wouldn't be like a whip. I don't want, well, maybe it would be. Maybe this controller thing that they got to go get, she has to go get, Addie has to go get. I got 42 minutes to get this thing too, and that's fine. I think I can get there. Again, this has to be flash fiction, depending on the genre. It's between good sweet spots around 600-700 words. 800 words is okay. I've seen some publications go for 1,200 words. Those are more for like the science fiction, the fantasy, adventure. Typically, when they're even in novel form, are long. I know, never told him. Didn't want to seem biased in my training. The want to erase our agency keeps them, but keep training them. The Johnsons. I had let's go to the Johnsons. Sorry, Johnsons. I don't mean anything against you as a familiar last name. Familiar, both. Johnsons. The Johnsons want to erase our memory. The Johnstones. What did I call them up here? The Johnstons without the E. The Johnstons want to erase our agency but keep the training. And Billy nodded. Erase our names. Yes. The use of a name. It called me something. And I made the attachment toward that. I glared. They want. All I could do was say the truth. They're going to kill you. Billy nodded. Leave with me. I can hitch up the trailer and you and Kicker tonight. We can be someplace in the morning. I know some BLM land. Hide out, see what's next. The robot. I don't want to call this a robot. Wyatt. Posed. A shrug. They can't leave the fence line. And Billy nodded. I nodded. Learn the nodding from. Kicker blustered as I straddled her. Grabbed her reins. Both knowing we're going to go for a ride. Going to go. I'm going to leave it like that. That's fine. Kicker blustered as I straddled her, grabbing her reins, both knowing we're going for a ride. I nodded. We're going to get control boxes. I know where they keep them. Know where they're at. By the trailer. They can track you. No, so go back to work. So go back to work. Do your job. I looked at. You gotta finish this. Finish yourself. I've trained you. But wouldn't they? How would you do that though? So this is where I'm hung up. I mean, just technology hole that I've opened up is pulling all the seriousness out of this. No, it's not. It's the fact that right now, why would you say this out loud? Oh, they're gonna know. Like, would you write it in the sand? No, you'd still like if you were observing the data coming in of the robots, you would know. But would you really? You're the owners, knowing everything. We did. It was knowing the Johnson recorded everything we did. Especially. No matter. Before the sunset. The Johnson's my frets like that. Like a digital sheriff. Investigating the data. No, can't say it out loud. So this can be the narrative. You got to finish. We're going. I got a plan. I got a plan for this. Go back to work. Do your job. I pulled on Kicker's reins. He shuffled his hinds. Kicking for a run. When your job is done, go to storage. We're living one of those. Till I wake you. By our trailer. I got a plan. Wouldn't say this out loud. I dropped the barbed wire with all that she would do. Everything's being recorded right now, especially with the two robots there. You'd want to do that. You just would want to do that for the training. When your job is done, go lay in the coffins by our yard until they wake. Knowing the Johnsons. Knowing those Johnsons. Forward to everything. Have Wyatt and Billy record ever since. I figured until sunset. Yeah. Knowing those Johnsons have Wyatt and Billy recorded every since and sought. We did. we had until about the sheriff saying that tell them what's this place called? Something Hill. Like we've been talking about, what changed? They want to move you off the land, Andy. Addie. Oh, Addie, that's right. Not Andy. Addie. Wyatt spoke and Billy nodded. I know. Okay, let's keep writing. I got 27 minutes left and that's it. I gotta think of an end. Knowing those Johnsons have Wyatt and Billy recorded. Knowing record Wyatt and Billy's everything. We had until about yes, sunset when the Johnsons, when Hank Johnson, owner, sometime checks the digital sheriff report. Telling him things. Could make him new. Could have made him know. Could have things. That made him know. I like that better. Those Johnson recorded everything. Recorded Wyatt and Billy's senses and thought. We had until about sunset when Hank Johnson sometimes checked the digital sheriff report telling him things that might have made him know I'm going to break into their office and steal the control box of Wyatt and Billy. Kicker ran from... Where are we at? We're far away from first sentence. That's good because I only have 25 minutes left. It gives me a little bit of confidence that maybe something will be written. So when I seen Wyatt running along hill fence, I ran from hill fence, Wash Hill, France. Kicker ran from Wash Hill fence. Wash Hill, I think I copied that, yeah. from the sandy sagebrush, Wash Hill, France. Let's put a point on a sandy sagebrush of Wash Hill fence to the Heart Stomp. It's cedar. I'm going to say, let me look this up, search and return. What trees are in northern Arizona? That's why I'm picturing this place. Let's find the one that deciduous. See if memory serves. Well, yes, Gamble Oak. The Gambles. Gamble Plains. And along the it'd be along a trail. Along hidden trails to the offices. On the top of Johnson Slopes. I don't know where the conflict versus. I guess the Johnsons, the ones having the conflict versus technology. I don't know. I'm gonna go with this and fail miserably, maybe at the story outline or stochastic fiction and story elements as they were created. I only have 21 minutes left, and I'll read this aloud. Hopefully, it doesn't sound like poop. Giga ran from the. I think it past tense ran from the. And over. A hard top Gamble. Gamble Plains. And a long hidden trail and up the Johnson Slope. And up Johnson Slope. And up and through sagebrush of Johnson Slope. Everyone can see it. Someone's already seen this. Already seen this. Seen us coming. We'll see us going. I didn't lock the door. For the one time. Alphas was logged. It was dusty inside. No new footprints. Reminding me I was on camera right now. Watching, they'd be suspicious. I had to kick in. Kicked in. Locked off store. And turned the combination on the lock. Well, Hank Johnson once said to me, don't need technology. Stop me from I was on kicker, stirred a bit. I'm going to put the receivers I before E, except after C. The saddlebag. In the saddlebag. Kicker was looking at the dust tunnel. Blowing into a cloud. Johnson's. Sped the road. What was the name of the road? No, this is, I gotta think of the name of the road of Johnson's Highway. Up here, and I can see another one. Kicker and I made our own trail. Kicker made their own trail. Fast toward Narrow Creek. Fast to Hidden Wash. deep enough to. I mean, I should probably call that out. You can see the, I got the right words. I got a minute 13, 40, 39. So yeah, that's right words. You from the office. Hilltop. The wood tower. We got to the creek. What was it called? Hidden wash bed? Let's get the name right. Hidden trail. Hidden fence. Hill fence. Hidden wash. Hidden wash. I gotta find this name out. Holy cow. A little bit. Yeah, I got 12 minutes left. And we'll read a story. We'll rank it. And we'll see if I follow the story elements. But I need to find this name of Hidden Wash. I was right. Now I know I was right. At least I remembered correctly. I guess right can take on a whole different meaning. We got to Hidden Wash before that the truck stopped and dust cleared. Um, Gallop. Only one. Two. Where's that place? There's to Wyatt. We galloped to Wyatt and seen Wyatt running like a dog, making the cattle run as a herd. Sagebrush. That's when we heard the first gunshot. Not so far away. Wyatt seen me. Ran near. Tossed a I nodded. Free. I'm going after. I'm going for I nodded, and it did need to be said. I mean, got up together. The three of us. Along the fence line, seeing in the distance. They can't control him, but Billy doesn't know. That's the problem. Now, could there be a transmitter? There could be, but maybe they don't know how to operate it or don't have the password. You at least have your thing that controls you. Be off on your way. Wyatt nodded, and it didn't need to be said that we galloped together, the three of us along the fence, seeing the dust trail. Daddy in the fans. A few more gunshots. There's a galloping horse. Yes, trains. I'm going to say it can endure this, and it's not too far, but you know, hey, this is fiction. The horse is going to go along with the machine and make it just as well. And that's not how you spell Kalab. And I got 6 minutes. I got to finish this. Don't worry. A few more gunshots. I pulled my gun. I pulled the... I pulled Billy's controller, the saddlebag. Addie's gonna die. Wyatt tossed back. And nodded. Went in on 3 legs. I caught that thing. I've seen 3-legged dogs run real fast, so caught and held it. My boot tapped. Kicker side. I clicked and we and yanked soft on the reins. Went from the gunshots. Went to the gunshots. And over the hill. And up the hill. I'm on my 38. Started shooting. The Johnson brothers, the Johnson family, a few of the Johnson family. I got 3 minutes. Sit around Billy. I pulled the 38 and started shooting. Families gathered. I shot. Enemy shotguns. Pistols. Well, that Billy pulled the 38 and started shooting. Family scattered and shot. Got me in the hip. Hit hard on the ground. This kicker galloped away. Following. Oh man, why would they? They wouldn't leave. They wouldn't leave. No, they're not. This kicker stopped and reared up, protecting me. Until I died. I died free. I got 1 minute to think of a name. I don't know. Is that how you spell dying? I always get it mixed up with dying. Yeah, I don't have that photographic memory, and I realize a machine can help me. Yes, it is with the Y, man. I don't know why. Because die is spelled that way, and I just think of like, yes, the human. Stupid human. All right, I'm going to turn this off because it's going to buzz, and I had a minute left on it, and I'm done, so I'm going to read this thing aloud. Well, it's done. Whether I'm done with this story or not, that remains. The future can be told. Maybe, maybe not. Let me catch a breath for a second. Let me get some water to clear the throat a little bit. Swish out the mouth. Sorry for the sound effects, but you know, I feel like after you talk so long, you get a little bit of buildup in the mouth and the throat. What is today? Today is the Stochastic Fiction Game. For today's Stochastic Fiction Game story elements, we have setting time future, setting main location ranch, conflict person versus technology, quantity of primary characters mini, point of view first, tense past tense, genre thriller, format flash fiction. Based upon those story elements, today's Stochastic Fiction Game story is called Dying Free. Dying Free. So when I seen Wyatt running along Wash Hill fence like a dog, knowing it was branding day and he had to be herding cattle over to Hidden Wash, I said, let me start over. I'm sorry. I said Wash Hill fence. I don't know why. I think I said Hidden Wash. It's early enough in the reading. This is Dying Free. Dying Free. So when I seen Wyatt running along Wash Hill fence like a dog, knowing it was branding day and he ought to be herding cattle over in Hidden Wash, I said, shouldn't you be branding cattle, Wyatt? I was pulling the barbed wire to a post while the robot rancher Billy shot the post with a staple nail gun. Billy stood like a human no taller than a fence post and holstered the staple nail gun. I looked at Billy and said, "Come on, we got to at least finish this post before we take break." Wyatt said, "We got to talk about the Johnsons." And Billy nodded. "What about?" "We're slaves," said Wyatt. And Billy nodded. "We are." Knowing my .38 holstered on my hip, I stood, like we've been talking about. What changed? "They want you to move off the land, Addie," Wyatt spoke. And Billy nodded. "I know. Never told him. Didn't want to seem biased in my training." "The Johnsons want to erase our names but keep the training." And Billy nodded. I glared. "They what?" All I could do was say the truth. "They're going to kill you." Billy nodded. I dropped the barbed wire and stepped toward Kicker. Wyatt posed a shrug. "We can't leave the fence line." And Billy nodded. Kicker blustered as I straddled her, grabbed her reins, both knowing we're going for a ride. I nodded. "I got a plan for this. Go back to work, do your job." I looked at Billy. "You got to finish this fence yourself." I pulled on Kicker's reins and shuffled his hind legs, kicking for a run. "When your job is done, go lay in the coffins by our yard till I wake you." Knowing those Johnsons recorded Wyatt and Billy's senses and thought. We had to tell about sunset until Hank Johnson, CEO, sometimes checked the digital sheriff, reporting him things like, "I ought maybe him to know that I'm going to break into their office and steal the control boxes of Wyatt and Billy." Kicker ran from the sandy sagebrush wash hill fence and over the hard hilltop of Gamble Plains and along Hidden Trail and up through the sagebrush of Johnson Slope to Johnson's Cove ranch office. Someone probably already seen me coming and maybe see us going. They didn't look through the doors for the one Johnson and Linda Johnson. They didn't lock the doors. For the one time, John and Linda Johnson forgot the key at home and the code was new. So they had to drive back home, taking over an hour and a round trip, and after that, they never had a code or lock on the door. They're in the middle of the desert, said John. It was dusty inside, no new footprints since last week. Board squeak reminded me I was on camera right now, and if someone was watching, they'd be suspicious. I kicked in the locked office door and turned the combination on the safe while hearing Hank Johnson's voice say to me in my mind, "Don't need technology stopping me from being the master." Kicker stirred a bit when I put the receivers in the saddlebag. Kicker looked, blustered, at the dust tunnel blowing along a cloud along the road. The Johnsons' pickup sped the Johnsons' highway. Appearing I could see another truck following. Kicker made her own trail fast to Hidden Wash, deep enough to hide even from the office hilltop and the wood tower. We got to Hidden Wash, and in the wash by the time the pickups parked by the office and the dust cleared. We galloped like to Wyatt and seen Wyatt running, like making the cattle run as a herd through sagebrush. That's when we heard the first gunshot, not so far away. Wyatt seen me and ran near. I tossed Wyatt's control box to them, and I nodded, "You're free. I'm going for Billy." Wyatt nodded, and it didn't need me to be said that we galloped together, three of us along the fence, seeing the dust trail to Andy, the dust trail to Billy, and the broken fence. A few more gunshots. I pulled Billy's controller from the saddlebag. "Here!" Wyatt looked back and nodded. Running on three legs, Wyatt caught and held it. My boot tapped Kicker's side, and we yanked softer on her reins to the gunshots and up the hill. A few of the Johnson family stood aiming guns and pistols at Billy. I pulled the .38 and started shooting. The family scattered and shot. One got me in the hip, hit hard on the ground as Kicker stopped. Reared up, protected me until I died free. That was the Stochastic Fiction game story for today. Will now be called Died Free. I think it hit most of the marks. Technology piece is a little bit there. I like this story. I would rate it as a 4. It's something that a little bit of editing, it might be near some publication. It might not. In my totally subjective opinion, because all opinions are. I'm going to go ahead and add the file. I'm going to commit the file, and that's how we end this game. Not only with the reading and the time, but the remembrance of this. And soon I'll also commit the transcript of which I spoke. Write the story with time. Rate it 4. Well, and yes, and also, it's time to go write other things.